everyone. Welcome to Town Hall Theater. Thank you. I'm Lisa Mitchell, Executive and Artistic Director of THT, and we are so proud to be a founding partner of the Middlebury New Filmmakers Festival, to count them among our dozen resident companies who come back year after year. And you may have noticed things have changed since last year. We have more than doubled our footprint here at Town Hall Theater with an incredible addition. And that's thanks to incredible community support. And of course, what this means is that we are even more of a community hub. We are doubling down on our education mission and have offered so many more classes for all ages. We have a free arts programming series in the Maloney Plaza, as well as other programming indoors, all kinds of special events, celebrations, and we are really focusing on expanding our artistic vision, mission, and programming as well. And of course, these new spaces also allow us to be an even more dynamic and useful partner to MNFF. So as you're here this week, travel around the new spaces, say hi to our wonderful staff. Welcome to this expanded Regional Performing Arts Center, and congratulations to MNFF on their 11th year. And with that, I'd love to call up Jay Craven, Artistic Director, who's been with the festival since the very beginning. Thanks, everybody.
Welcome, everyone, to Middlebury New Filmmakers Festival 11. And congratulations to our hardworking, visionary, new Executive Director, Caitlin Boyle, on this, her very first edition. I'm Jay Craven, Artistic Director of the Festival. I select the films, recruit the special guests, help frame our roundtables, prep guest moderators. If you like what you see, tell me. If you don't, whisper. In mysterious ways I can't explain, each year's festival includes films that fall into clusters thematically. This year, we see some with characters taking deeply principled stands, win or lose, against the odds. Tonight's film, Prime Minister, does this. Also, our films, The Encampments, Arrest the Midwife, Bad Press, The Librarians, Mr. Nobody Against Putin, Checkpoint Zoo, La Liga, and others. The great French filmmaker Jean Cocteau once said, "All cinema should aspire to the condition of a dream." Vermont's poet laureate, Bianca Stone, will join us on Sunday to discuss David Lynch's monumental dreamscape, Mulholland Drive. I'd also recommend Scott McDonald's Sunday morning dive into experimental cinema and Jason Mattel's excursion into video essays. Our festival celebrates story, images, and ideas. We'll stage a Friday event to explore how journalism shapes our public narrative and myth, with Vermont Digger's new editor, Geeta Anand, and three-time Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times writer David Sanger, fresh from his reporting on the Putin-Trump summit in Anchorage. Sanger will also talk with Geeta Friday afternoon about the new Cold Wars and Ukraine. Our comedy roundtables will discuss funny ideas that have social impact. My time is up. There is much to explore. Read our program. Many thanks to our indispensable interns, staff, sponsors, and special guests. And please welcome our fearless and fabulous new leader, Caitlin Boyle.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to see you all here. So excited to be here. And I think we've got an amazing 5 days of thought-provoking, complicated, funny, exciting films for you to watch, panels for you to attend, conversations for you to have. So it is just a pleasure to be here introducing it all. I want to start with just a very long list of thank yous. This festival could not exist without everyone who is in this room tonight. You are all our supporters, our champions, our cheerleaders, our donors, our sponsors, and it is truly a group effort. It may look like just a few of us are pulling all of this off, but that is not true. I first want to just thank the amazing MNFF 11 team. I'm going to embarrass you guys. I want you to stand up. Regan, Kate, Graydon, Campbell, Senya. These guys, three of these guys are Middlebury College interns and joined us in late June and just hit the ground running and made everything happen. If you have enjoyed even just one moment of this festival, it is because these guys just put their heart and soul into it. So thank you guys. I also want to thank Jay for your incredible partnership and collaboration. And like he says, if you like the films, thank him. If you don't like the films, you can complain to me. I want to thank Simeon Hutner. I don't know where you are, Simeon. I'm blinded by the light, but Simeon is our senior programmer. He helped wrangle our screening committee and narrow down an incredible pool of about 470 submitted films to a very small number for Jay to choose from. So thank you, Simeon, wherever you are. And then, of course, Kate Lemberg, who I also can't see. Kate is our operations director. She has coordinated every trip from the airport, every filmmaker staying with a local host, every volunteer, and a massive labor. So thank you, Kate. I want to thank our incredible board. You are all here. Most of you are sitting in the center there. You have all been so supportive and welcoming and guiding, and without you, we would not have made it through this the first decade of the film, and certainly of the festival, and certainly not this last year. So thank you to our incredible MNFF board. You know who you are. I also want to thank our venue partners, of course, Town Hall Theater, and the whole Town Hall Theater team, the Middlebury Marquee team, and Middlebury College, of course. We are using 3 beautiful venues on the college campus. One new one, Accent Center at Star Library, which many of you may not have been to before, and the entire Middlebury College staff has been incredibly instrumental to us as we've planned this, so thank you to Middlebury. I also want to thank our projectionists. I think we have, Regan, 9 different projectionists. They are the people who actually press play and make sure things look good when you see them, and they are also instrumental to the festival, and we want to recognize them. I want to thank our volunteers, our hosts who are hosting our visiting filmmakers, our venue managers, our ushers, the folks who are driving filmmakers to and from Burlington when they get here and go back to wherever they're going. All of you make this what it is. I also want to thank our many, many sponsors. I won't name you all because we'd be here all night, but this room is full of you, and without you, we could not do this. I want to thank our donors, and I want to give a very special thank you to a pair of donors who I want to recognize tonight because until now, we have not had an endowment fund at Middlebury New Filmmakers Festival, and that changed just a few months ago with a lead endowment gift from Michelle and Bruce Bayless. I want to give them a huge round of applause. Are you guys out there? Can you wave? I can't see you, so if you're waving. And we hope many will follow in your footsteps. With that kind of support, we can ensure that we are an institution here in Middlebury for another decade. I want to bring up next Amy Ryan from IPJ Real Estate. IPJ is our presenting sponsor, and Amy is just going to give a few welcoming remarks.
you, Caitlin. From the moment Lloyd presented this idea of a film festival to us, we were behind him 100%, and 11 years later, it makes us very proud to be able to stand up here and continue to support the festival as Caitlin takes over. We believe in the power of community. We believe in doing our part, collaborating with industry professionals, and assisting and providing guidance to real estate clients so that they can make informed and educated decisions. We've done this for a number of years. I have a phenomenal team back in the office. And when we give back to the community in ways like the film festival, we recognize that it's the community that allows us to do what we do and excel at what we do. So we thank you. We welcome you to Middlebury. I know you have a few days ahead of you of pretty incredible films from what I hear. So enjoy your time, and we're right on Main Street. Stop by if you want to buy a house.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, so now to tonight's film, Prime Minister. When we were thinking of which film to present as our opening night film, Jay and I went back and forth. We had a bunch of different ideas. We thought, do we need something light? Do we need something serious? Do we need something about Vermont? What do we need? And Prime Minister just felt like exactly the right fit. It has some gravitas. There's some very serious, heavy moments. There's also a lot of hope and optimism and inspiration, and it just has that blend that I think makes a good story. We find something to be concerned about, and then we find that there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And I think, it's not uncommon for there to be films about global leaders, heads of state. There's a lot of films, both fiction and nonfiction, that show the public life of public figures. But what's special about this film is that we see behind the scenes. So Jacinda Ardern's partner, as you'll see, filmed her not only in her public moments, but also in her private ones at home with their child, with her laptop sitting cross-legged on the bed, figuring out what she was going to do to respond to a national crisis. We see her inside the car when the car doors shut and the crowd is outside. And that kind of intimate, personal, compassionate look at a leader from inside their private moments is, I think, quite rare and very humanizing. So I won't ruin it by saying anything more, but I hope you see in the film what Jay and I saw in the film, which is just a unique portrayal of a person who, like all of us, is navigating the distance between their private life and their public life and trying to be a good person and trying to serve their country. And there could be no more fitting person to bring up after the film than our very own Congresswoman Becca Balint, who will join us. Who will join us on stage after the film for our post-film conversation, and we'll say a little bit more about her at the end of the film after the credits roll. When we start the film, you'll see a little introduction from one of the film's co-directors, and they unfortunately couldn't be with us here tonight, so she has a welcome for us, and then we'll roll. So please turn off your cell phones. And note that the exits are in the back where you came in. There's also an exit here, stage right. And we'll see you after the film. Thank you. so honored to introduce now Representative Becca Balint. She is a mom, a teacher, a progressive leader, and she is the first woman and openly LGBTQ person to represent Vermont in the United States Congress. She's the daughter of a working-class mother and an immigrant father. She's been guided by a deep sense of justice, empathy, and service from the beginning of her career, first as an educator who taught middle school in Windham County for 14 years, then as an activist and state senator, and ultimately as the president pro tem in 2021. While majority leader of the Vermont State Senate, Becca led the passage of the first gun safety laws in the state's history, and while in the state Senate helped to secure the largest housing investment in Vermont in decades to rebuild housing stock and expand middle-income housing. This Congress, Becca serves as Congressional Progressive Caucus Vice Chair for new members and as co-chair of the Congressional Equality Caucus. She is a member of the House Judiciary Committee and the Budget Committee. She received her BA from Smith College, graduating magna cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa. She earned her master's in education from Harvard University in 1995 and her MA in history from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst in 2001. She's married to noted attorney and opera singer Elizabeth Wall. Together they have 2 teenagers and a dog named Wheelie, and they live in Brattleboro. Please welcome to the stage our Congresswoman, Becca Balint.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. What a terrific film.
Thanks, yeah. Inspiring, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I thought I'd start off with a question that's at the heart of the film, which is we see that Jacinda Ardern is trying to let her vulnerability show, even as she is also making complex, bold decisions for her country and on the world stage. And I'm wondering if you can share a little bit about your own thoughts about the blend and the mix of compassion and vulnerability that is needed in leaders, and also the need for boldness and you know, the kind of bravery that she shows in the film.
Yeah, I really appreciate the question because it's something that I actually think about a lot. And the slogan for my first run for Congress was kindness and courage. And I remember people telling us, you can't run on that. You can't run on that. I said, that's what I've been doing my whole career. It's been working for me so far. I'm going to stick with it. But there were definitely times when I was in the state Senate when well-meaning people, whether they were in the press or whether they were in politics, kept telling me that I could not lead as a compassionate person, that people would view it as a sign of weakness, and that I had to get more comfortable throwing elbows, as if the two are mutually exclusive. Right now, we need fighters, we need warriors, and we need empaths. We need both. It's a yes and, it's not an either or. And a very interesting book that I would recommend to all of you by a man named Dr. Keltner, who is a researcher at the University of California, Berkeley, is a book called The Power Paradox. And what the research shows is those qualities that actually bring people to you are the qualities of empathy and curiosity and humility. And they give you lasting power, not flash in the pan power, but lasting power. And what has to be at the center of the work you do always has to be the needs of other people. And obviously that's what we saw in this film from beginning to end. And it isn't easy to hold that as your North Star, because everyone around you is telling you it's a sign of weakness. But when you know who you are, it's crystal clear. So.
I also was struck in the film by the way that we see Jacinda Ardern having to make decisions about what kind of leader she's going to be in the context of her family, her relationship, her parent, her relationship with her partner, her role as a parent, and also just as a private person. And I wonder if you could share a little bit about your decision-making and your family's decision-making about your own political life and what that looked like and how you navigated those same kinds of questions.
Yeah, there's so many moments in this film where I thought, I know exactly what she's thinking and feeling. When I first ran for state senate, the day after the announcement was in the newspaper that I was running, I remember talking with a friend in my neighborhood, and they were like, well, so, like, how are you feeling about this? And I said, well, I feel exposed. I feel completely and totally exposed. And that was like on a Thursday or Friday, and then the following Monday, I think, I got an anonymous postcard in the mail saying, how dare you, as a mom, run for office. You will regret this for the rest of your life, that you are not putting your children first. And it was interesting because I laughed about it with my wife because we thought nobody has any idea what kind of marriage we have, how we have decided to raise our children, and for a stranger to presume to insert themselves into our lives was just shocking. It was absolutely shocking. And the fact that it was anonymous, I think, was also very revealing. But we have always said in my household that I can only do this job if we are a team. If my wife and my kids understand that it actually is a family project. It's a huge sacrifice for the people at home. They have lost their anonymity. People try to use my wife to get to me. I had a teacher once try to use my son to get to me. And we are constantly reevaluating and reassessing the toll that it takes on the family. And when I ran for Congress, we had decided that if I did win, that we would sit down together as a family and decide what we were going to do. If we were going to move the kids to DC with me or whether they were going to finish out school here. And it was also really interesting to me that as far as we could tell, looking back through the press here in Vermont, nobody had ever asked Patrick Leahy or Peter Welch or Bernie Sanders how that was going to impact their family, but I was asked it constantly. And I was always asked, have you thought about this? Only every waking minute, they're my children. But I won, and we huddled up, and I said, well, what do you want to do? And the kids said, we want to finish out school here in Vermont. And I said, okay, I'm going to have a lot of frequent flyer miles. But it's an interesting thing to be not just exposed, but to have your entire family exposed. It's tough. It really is. There's no way around saying that it is. And you're also on a tightrope the entire time. And I was watching as she was navigating the tiny press crumbs and the press conferences and the interviews, and I could feel my own heart racing because I've been in those situations, and like you're deciding in real time what to share, what not to share, what to lean in on, what to pull back on, and it is exhausting. But you aren't there for you. In her case, she's there for the entire nation. In my case, trying to represent all of Vermont. So the stakes are very high. Yeah.
What do you think the future of leadership is looking like, can look like, as more women are in political office at the state level, on the national stage? Do you think that is shifting not only what leadership looks like on the ground, but how we think about leadership and how we define it as a culture?
I think we are not getting what we deserve right now in terms of leaders. We deserve so much better. So much better. And I'm a very hopeful person, much like Jacinda. I'm an optimist, but I'm not naive. I understand how difficult it is going to be for all of us to turn the tide. But I get told, not just here in Vermont, but as I travel across the country, that people don't want to actually hate their neighbors. It doesn't feel good. They don't want to constantly be on edge. They want to be back in relationship with one another, and they're not quite sure how to do it. And I think that is an important role that leaders have right now, is to help all of us come back into community with one another. And when I think about the class that came in with me, so the class in Congress that came in my year, we were the class that ran after the January 6th insurrection. So I say, we were the ones who ran towards the fire, that we had no illusions that it was going to be easy or pleasant. And what I've seen among my colleagues, and not just among the women that I serve with for my class, but also for the men, people understand in this moment that we need a new kind of leadership that is not just about throwing punches, that is not just about raising your voice. You have to know when to do it and when to pull back. And I think it's also about understanding that people very, very rarely remember what you say. They remember how you made them feel. And I do think there is a generation of leaders coming in right now that understand that deeply. And so I actually feel very hopeful. It doesn't look like that kind of leadership right now at the top, and it certainly doesn't look that way from the cabinet members and all of the people that are propping up this incredibly flawed person. But that is not the future of leadership in this country.
I think we have time for a couple questions
Absolutely.
from the audience, and I'm just going to say, if you want to ask a question, just wait for an usher to come to you with a microphone before you speak.
While we're finding people, I just want to say how honored I am to be here tonight. This is such a fun way for me to spend an evening, is to watch someone that I have admired for so long and to be able to be in community with all of you. So I really appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely, it's our pleasure. Do we have a question from the audience?
Or a statement.
I believe a question should be a short, brief question, a statement that ends with a question mark. So here's mine. Shackleton was inspiration to her. He's from a different realm completely. Who is inspiration to you?
I get inspiration from people every single day. And lately I've been thinking about how my frame on the world is, whether it's a day or a week, or if I look a year ahead, I think there are so many amazing people that I haven't met yet that I'm going to come across in my day-to-day life. And I love the everyday courage that people show me. And a through line in terms of my political idol, it is hands down Shirley Chisholm, who, when I feel low, when I feel like continue to have the courage both as a woman in politics or as an openly LGBTQ member, where there's so much hate coming at me and others all the time, I play Shirley Chisholm's speeches on my phone and remind me what a dangerous time she ran at and how she knew exactly who she was.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another question? It looks like, is there someone in the balcony?
Somebody in the back. You want to call out?
I could speak very loudly.
Fantastic.
But I know you're optimistic about the future and what can happen in the future. And I know it's hard
You need a little inspiration, do you? I understand. Okay, a couple things. Just on the macro, we're a country of people who deeply, deeply love our freedoms here. We are not going to willingly give up our country to a tyrant. We're not. We're not. And with every bit of courage that each of us shows in finding our voices, in not bending a knee, in binding together collective action, we will bring more people into that movement. And right now, I'm not about litmus tests. I'm not about who checks all the boxes in my party. I am about, are you someone who believes in defending this country, and will you use your voice to do it? If you are on my team. You are on my team. And I will tell you, I spend so much time with members of Congress on both sides of the aisle. We are not seeing a lot of courage right now on the Republican side, but I know that there are people on the other side who are trying to figure out in this moment how to get out from under this. As a person, I'm compassionate that they feel so voiceless. As a member of Congress, I feel enraged that they are willingly giving up their power. But I am not going to give up on the people in Vermont who voted for this administration. I'm not going to give up on my constituents who come to me and say I didn't vote. It is my job to represent everyone. And I believe that if we can come back into community, especially in Vermont, we are going to be able to turn the tide on this.
Another question? Probably have time for one more.
And in a funny way to answer your question, although it's on brand as a gay woman, I do play on the bipartisan women's softball team. And I play on the field with Republicans. And we have friendships. And we know each other's families. And that's the only way out. There is no easy way out. It's a lot of hard conversations day in and day out, and not losing faith in our shared humanity.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. I wanted to ask you about how you approach, hello.
Yes, thank you.
How you approach what you perceive as your own failures or maybe missteps in your leadership, and how you move forward. Because I think that's also a very inspiring thing in the film, is where she recognizes, when it's time for her to reevaluate what she's doing.
Yeah, and what was so moving is for her to live her values of, it's not about me, it's about what this nation needs right now, right? And I'm not the one to lead it to the next place, right? We need more of that in leadership as well. I think a lot of people, I obsess over my mistakes. And then I try to pivot into learning. And I say to myself on the regular, I am both very talented and very flawed. And that's true for everyone who walks in my door, whether it's a constituent or someone leading a business. We are all talented and flawed. And I have stopped chasing perfection. I think I chased perfection for a long time. It's not attainable. It makes you pretty boring because you're so obsessed with that. I have learned over time that I need a strong team around me, not a team of yes people, but a team that can help me turn over when I have made a misstep, and how we go from there.
I really want to understand deeply the human condition. And I always say, I'm in the business, yes, of politics and trying to pass legislation that makes life better for people, but really, like in my quiet moments, I am in the business of trying to make us all better people, and I am starting every day with myself. And that helps me to let go when I do have a misstep. But I will tell you, the very first debate I did in my run for Congress, now keep in mind, I had served in the state Senate, I had been majority leader, I had been the president pro tem, I had quite a bit of political experience, but of course running for Congress is a different beast entirely. You have to raise a whole lot more money, you gotta crisscross the state, you're exhausted. And after the very first debate I had in the primary, I sat at my best friend's house and just sobbed and felt like it was all over. I could only see my mistakes. But the next day I walked into the State House and so many colleagues were like, that was great. Congratulations, strong showing. I was like, well, what about this other thing? I don't remember that. What about when I said that? Oh, I don't remember that. We remembered how you made us feel. And that was an incredible lesson for me, also of, even in that debate, I haven't been able to go back and watch it, but I think at one point in the second half, I had to say, yeah, what I said earlier, that was a mistake. I misspoke. And the more you practice that, the easier it is. And certainly teaching middle school for so long helps because they point out all your mistakes every day.
One last question.
Caitlin, were you going to say a few words about our new voting system?
Oh, yes, I will, yes. I was thinking like national electoral politics.
No, me too. I was like, have you talked to the Secretary of State about this? What's going on? What's happening in Middlebury?
I will share more about our film festival voting system, yes.
You have us all scared.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, Becca. I'm over here. It's Bess.
There you are.
Hi, Bess.
How you doing?
Good.
So one of the things that I thought was really amazing about this woman, and I think you're very much like this too, and it just struck me so much how we are completely lacking that now, is the amount of time she took to try to understand what was happening.
Yes.
The time she took to be compassionate and to be there for people.
Yeah.
And we see in our leaders, so many of our leaders right now, there's just so little sense of any of that. And with your fellow Republicans, why, that is such a human thing when somebody, like that whole thing with the people getting killed.
Yeah.
I mean, just her being there for those people, her making them understand that she was there for them as the leader of this country. We are so lacking that on so many fronts. There's so much alienation. What is it that you think your Republican folks, are thinking when they're not there for the American people? What is it that is lacking in them? Is it just obeying orders? I mean,
yeah.
What is that, and how would you as a person do you interact with that?
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and they're not a monolith. And I'll speak to the issue, because I get asked this probably more than any other question, which is why they don't speak up, especially the ones who know it's wrong. For some, it's about electoral politics. They want to win their next election, but I actually think for most of them it isn't that. For some, it's power for power's sake. I always say I'm looking at you, Marco Rubio, who's twisting yourself into a pretzel, completely changing what you said even 6 months ago. So for some, it's electoral power. For some, it's actual power, raw power. For others, it's that they see that in this environment, they don't actually have a voice within their own party. That there is one way of being, and that is in the style of Trump and Pete Hegseth and others who never, ever, under any circumstances, admit wrongdoing, admit mistakes. And it's directly from the Roy Cohn playbook, who was the Joseph McCarthy attorney. Roy Cohn worked for Trump. So there's a clear line there. For others, there's really incredible fear, because they know that if they step out of line, they will be tweeted about. They will become pariahs. Some of my colleagues have told us that their spouses and kids have asked them not to stick their necks out because they don't want people showing up at their house. A lot of people don't know that after Trump pardoned the January 6th insurrectionists, including the violent felons, some of them came to the Capitol the very next day and were walking the halls of Congress and were sitting in the gallery looking down on us, and to intimidate Democrats, but more to intimidate Republicans, to say, we were let out, we're in charge. So again, as a human, I can be compassionate, but as an elected official trying to do my very best for the people of Vermont, I say, if you can't do your job and you can't stick your neck out, you have to get out of the way. And they will say, well, somebody worse will come in after me. That's what they tell us. Somebody worse will come after me. And I say, you vote with them every time. I don't see the difference. What are you going to do with your power? What are you going to do with your power? You know? But the first part of your question, I think, is an interesting one, which is essentially, why have we as a society lost our ability to sit in discomfort and be compassionate towards others? It is much easier to yell at somebody, to pop off, to be on a talk show and not actually need to engage in any kind of conversation, but just scream. That's easier. The more powerful, the more courageous, the more dangerous thing is to stay, is to sit in discomfort and stay. And we don't want to stay right now. And I think that's true not just for my Republican colleagues, I think it's true for many of us. And I think we haven't recovered from the pandemic. There's still so much collective trauma around that. And we have to remind ourselves how to be back into community with one another. And the last thing I will say on this, because I think about it a lot. In the last 3 days, I've had 3 different people reach out to me being afraid for me, saying, I see the vitriol and the hatred directed at you on social media, and I'm concerned. I'm concerned for your safety. I'm concerned for your family. And some of those people who are doing that trolling, they're not from outside of Vermont. They're Vermonters. So the work that we have to do is also right here. It's not just outside of Vermont. People are scared, people are fearful, they're anxious on both sides of the aisle, and we have to learn how to stay in hard conversations. And it gets easier the more you do it, I'll tell you.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We are going to repair across the plaza for our opening night after party. We do have a change in our voting system for Middlebury New Filmmakers Festival. If you would like to vote for Prime Minister for our Audience Award, there will be folks standing outside of the theater to take your vote digitally on a device. You will already have actually in your email inboxes a reminder to vote. If you want to vote on your own after you leave here from your own phone, you can do that as well. There is still only one vote per person, though.
I appreciate that clarification.
So please do vote. That this film and most of the films in our program are up for the Audience Award, and you really do choose it, you in this room. Thank you again, Congresswoman Becca Balint.
Thank you.
Can I say one last thing?
Thank you. I want to say, if I could, I want to say one last thing. I get asked a lot, how can you possibly do this job? I get asked that a lot. And I don't know why, but this is exactly the work that I'm called to do. I feel like I'm living my life completely and totally on purpose. And the minute I feel like I'm not, like Jacinda, I will leave. But one thing that I want you all to think about as you leave tonight is, because people say to me all the time, you're so brave, you're so courageous. I wish that I could do that. I wish that I could be that. I don't want your job, but I wish that I could be more courageous. And one of the things I always ask people is, well, just tell me the last time you were brave. And I get the most incredible answers. You are much more courageous than you think you are. You can be doing more than you think you can do. And I know that we have the capacity to get through this, and we will. Don't lose hope.